Arise, Sir Golden Balls.
Coke Smuggler in Casa Amor.
And Mangione takes the stage.
All this and more on this week's episode of News Sensation.
Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of News Sensation, the podcast where we look at the funniest, strangest, weirdest stories from the week in news. I'm Chris Patel.
And I'm Matty Curry. Now, Chris. I thought you were going to start idle chit chat.
That's seamless.
That is seamless. I thought it's one of those things where I'm like, we always figure out who's going to say what headlines. We never know who's going to start the conversation.
We were both raised very polite, so
we were.
Yeah, no, there's plenty to talk about.
There's so much
that's
to talk
happened this
about.
week. We've gone viral. well, by our standards, we've gone viral.
My T-shirt went viral.
It certainly did.
Oh, yeah.
So if you've not seen, get yourself over to the TikTok, and you'll see a few TikToks with like 200 views, and then one with 23,500 last I checked.
Yeah.
It's cause we mentioned the Reform Party. And when you mention the Reform Party, a lot of people crawl out of the woodwork.
Crawl is the exact word I would use.
I would say
verbiage.
the balance of opinion is kind of on our side.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's defending us in all the comment threads, which I really
What's
like.
the guy's name again?
I think he's called The Man UK.
The Man UK for Prime Minister. And as we'll get onto in this show, for honours as well.
Absolutely.
I will nominate you. I'll go to Awards Intelligence. And if you want to know what we're talking about, stick around.
Speaking of awards, we've just found out that the British Podcast Awards are... they're crowdsourcing their nominations. So they're saying write in with your favourite podcast. But you have to be on Apple Podcasts.
Oh.
So we're ineligible.
We are ineligible.
What a stitch up.
It is a stitch up.
They're trying to go after grassroots podcasts here.
Yeah, and you had to be on Apple Podcasts from a certain point in time, which was the start of June, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we've seen this far too late. No one ever told us. And ultimately, I am a little bit hurt because I thought we had a chance.
Next year we're going for the top.
New Sensation Sweep.
Absolutely.
I think the one thing that's in our way, besides not being on the right platform and the global elite stitching us up, is that we haven't quite figured out yet who starts the Idle Chit Chat. Once we figure out who is starting our Idle Chit Chat week after week,
that's very true.
That's when we take over the world.
We've got the elites trying to sabotage us, like we're Zoran Mamdani, and
yeah, we got the New York Post writing articles about how our name is first on the ballot.
Well, all the most successful podcasts, kind of like dadcasts, they have two recognisable faces, stick them in a studio. Rory Stewart, Alistair Campbell, Ed Balls, George Osborne, people like this. I feel like if we had maybe an MBE to our name, we might have a bit more name recognition.
Well, Chris, I think we stand a chance, so long as someone starts sponsoring this show. Yes, we want to talk about the booming business of honours. A little history lesson for you. In case you're not aware, the King's Birthday Honours have just come out. Loads of big names on there. Your Gary Oldmans, Claudia Winkleman, Tess Daly, Elaine Page, who, let's face it, like the fact that Dame Elaine Page just makes sense.
It does. Just scans so well.
It scans so well. That's my Elaine Page impression.
Okay.
For any fans of her radio show. No, love Elaine. Well, look, alongside the birthday honours this week, in the history of the honours over the last 20 years, this is the time of year where we find out if the consultants have been worth the money. Now, I'm not talking about the big four. I know the summer internships are coming up, and we know plenty of people who
certainly do.
Getting down to the big smoke to start consulting.
Bushy-tailed.
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, about to be severely depressed. We're not talking about that. No, we're talking about the honours consultants. So back in 06, 07, a new market really emerged because in the midst of the Cash for Honours scandal, which eventually brought down Tony Blair, wherein the Labour government were accused of giving life peerages, or at least nominating life peerages, individuals who had given significant donations to the then Labour government, somebody, and that somebody being Mark Llewellyn-Slade, one of the great names in the industry and one of the great moustaches in the industry. Hello, Mark.
Takes one to know one.
Takes one to know one. Saw a gap in the market. That's right, the gap in the market needs to be filled for people to help you get your honours. Now, you see, if you do it in the too obvious way, if you just chuck money at a political campaign and then they get into power and decide to go, yeah, love this guy, you're going to get yourself in trouble. So instead, if you want to invest in your future and if you want to be recognised as you deserve for all that you've contributed to society, then really start to invest your money a bit more wisely and turn to awards awards intelligence. This has turned into an advert. It didn't mean to. Now, this is what it was. They've always said that what they're trying to do is help people gain the personal recognition they deserve, but they are also involved in sort of business awards, etc., etc., etc. Now, all this aside, what is it that I'm actually talking about? I'm throwing out honours, awards, consultants, all sorts. Effectively, around this time of year, and also at the New Year's list, is the time of year where the king or queen, depending on who's on the throne at any given time, will come along and say, you know what, this person, pretty sound. I'm going to give them an MBE. If they think they're even cooler than that, they get an OBE. Then you got your CBEs, your knighthoods, your dames, all of this really big pageantry.
There's loads. I was looking down the
loads.
massive PDF. Is this when people get like the Iron Cross and things?
Honestly, I didn't get that far into the PDF. I take most of this from the headlines talking about the people I actually care about. There's a lot of people on there who I'm sure are very deserving and have done a lot or have very good consultants. And ultimately, I'm more interested in David Beckham. This is a big moment for me. Don't take this away. But the issue is that because it has this tiered system, it also creates a level of competition, right? Where people sometimes get upset about where they're falling within the ranks. So there is a historical precedent of individuals turning down things like an MBE or an OBE and holding out until they get a knighthood. This went disastrously wrong for Evelyn Waugh and Roald Dahl. Waugh, the writer of Brideshead Revisited, and Roald Dahl being Roald Dahl, who tried to who rejected an MBE, tried to hold out for a knighthood, and both died before they could get the honour. Which some people have successfully done it. They are not on that list. But ultimately, how do we even get to this point? Well, that's where all this consultancy talk comes in. Because it wasn't until the 1990s, I believe it was 1993, that John Major started to say to people, look, it's not just about military personnel or people who've served the country or whatever it might be, or technically even just nobility. The ordinary people can put themselves forward.
Back to basics.
Back to basics. Well, it was always the case that, individuals who were from just sort of, among the common folk had gotten to that status. I mean, we've been talking about authors and musicians, all those different things.
We're not helping our lefty elite image that we've cultivated on TikTok by saying among the common folk.
Yeah. Well, I think folk is actually, you'll find, among the vernacular of the very woke-minded, including myself. Shout out to all my woke folk homies out there.
This means that my brother calls this podcast the left and the far left. So I'm going to have to swing to the right now to capture the voter base. I think communist grandma has something to do with it.
Okay, yeah, that plays into it sometimes. Or you have a couple of communist family members, and all of a sudden,
you can't say anything anymore.
PC gone mad. Honestly, the McCarthyism of the modern era is astonishing. Even my own podcast, I'm not free from it. But look, people could always put themselves forward, but John Major was like, look, not enough people do it. The issue is that you can't nominate yourself. So even if you're feeling yourself, it requires someone else to nominate you instead. This is often why it goes to people like celebrities and public figures, because they've got a lot of people who admire them and support them going forward. But then comes a challenge of, well, how do you actually go about it? A bit like, when you're in school and someone starts talking to you about things like UCAS forms and CVs and personal statements, and when you're like 17, you're like, I don't know how to write any of those things, and you're just crying out for someone to show you how to do it. Well, that's where these consultants come in, is that they looked at this whole situation and went, these people who got in massive trouble could have just had somebody draft a nomination for them. Because it's not just for honours, it's also the House of Lords, the thing that sparked the scandal. Now, it should be pointed out, although all this is happening around the same time, I'm not saying that Mark Llewellyn-Slade, the nation's leading consultant for these consultancies, I'm not saying that he looked at the Cash for Honours scandal and went, oh, boy, do I have a business venture. But it is a funny coincidence that in 2007 he sets up the business. It's just coincidences. There's a few coincidences in this story. Just coincidences.
He was just passionate about helping people like Tess Daly who've never had a leg up in life.
Exactly. I love Tess Daly. Shout out Tess Daly as well. You know what? Deserving MBE. We're going to talk. We'll talk.
I don't know. Has she ever hosted anything on her own?
Have you?
I'm not going for an MBE.
As the only member of the show to have hosted something on his own.
I was so
Slow
gagged
down.
there. I didn't look to the camera. I didn't know what to do.
Get gagged. Well, Chris, this is why you will need a consultant. So if you want to know how these consultants work, they have a tiered system that you can go to financially to invest in yourself and invest in your nomination. So ultimately, you still need someone else to put forward the letter of nomination, but these guys are here to help you draft, to help show you how to do it. Like the first time someone sits you down and goes, yeah, so a personal statement, just big yourself up for a page or so. Yeah, talk about the society you're in for a year. Yeah, that'll work.
Mention the podcast, they'll love it.
They love work experience, put that highlight work experience. Yep. And much in the same way, they really love it if you have a bunch of free time because you're minted and you decide to help the povos along the way.
Well, personal statements are going to be gone soon if they've not already been gotten rid of.
Oh yeah, I forget about this. Yeah, well, I mean, I think they're kind of realizing that all people do is just regurgitate the same kind of self-aggrandizing nonsense, including ourselves. We were great at those.
We were really, I used to go around and proofread people's personal statements.
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to the TikTok comments, all I'm good for is self-aggrandizing nonsense.
Absolutely,
and they're absolutely correct.
And I'm a giggling girl, apparently.
We really are. I was thinking about this today. We're like if Wayne's World wasn't funny but just smug. And you are my smug giggling garf to my
smug giggling
my smug giggling garf. I pronounced that perfectly, but darling, keep up. Anyway, if you want to know what the tiers are if you're applying for the honours list, well, let me help you out. There are 4 tiers to just the awards intelligence. There's different places you could go to, but these are the premier ones. You've got the Windsor tier, which sounds like a great start. I mean,
sounds
let's face
insufferable.
It. Well, darling, come on. This is perfect for the royal family. They'd love it. This is £4,900 plus VAT. This is the lowest charge. And what you get is unlimited phone and email contact, a face-to-face meeting, up to 2,000 words professionally written via nomination and or professionally drafted, and up to 2 professionally drafted letters of support. So, you know what? Pretty good. Then you've got the Balmoral, which has jumped up a further £3,000, £7,900 plus VAT. Same as the Windsor, but the nomination is now up to 4,000 words on the word count, and up to 5 letters of support and 2 drafted update letters.
Who are these letters of support actually coming from? Is it just 5 letters from the awards agency?
My understanding of it is that it's still the same process that someone has to nominate you, and other people can speak out and say, I agree this person should be awarded. Right. But what they do is that they take your friend's inability to write a coherent letter, their slop going, yeah, mate, thumbs up emoji, he's sound.
I think Claudia Winkleman's great in it.
Yeah. I love her fringe. And then they edit it and draft it for you to say, a bit like an AI does for people's essays when they really run out of ideas.
Yeah.
You know, at university when people kind of go, oh yeah, I just ask like ChatGPT to make a structure for me, and they write the most boring essay of all time. It's like that if it was actually functional.
Yeah.
Anyway,
both involve you going massively into debt.
Both really do. Well, we're not even on to the Sandringham tier, which is the most popular tier. £15,900 plus VAT. It has even more upgrades. It's now 2 face-to-face meetings, an 8,000 word nomination, up to 15 drafted letters of support, and up to 3 drafted update letters.
When you take in that the reason people are doing this is going to be primarily to increase their earning potential.
Yes.
You've already got enough money to drop nearly 16 grand on the Sandringham tier. Do you need more earning potential?
Well, we'll get onto this idea of pricing and potential and the type of clientele they're trying to bring in a moment. Because we've got the ultimate tier to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
£50,000 plus VAT. Unlimited face-to-face meetings. Unlimited word count. Unlimited drafted letters. And best of all, direct involvement of the man himself, Mark Llewellyn-Slade, throughout the process. Invitation only. There may be a waiting list. So this is why I'm bigging up Mark. It's like, if you're the kind of person who can charge 50 grand just so you get involved in your agency's work, honestly, mate, hats off to you.
Wherever Mark is in the world, his pager just goes off and it's like, somebody paid for the ultimate tier. He just helicopters over.
It's so sick. And also, again, if you are interested in finding out more about what all this entails, go to the Awards Intelligence website, look up the staff. Mark does seriously have one of the greatest mustaches in the game. I'd pay £50,000 plus VAT just to see that mustache in person.
If you're paying 50 grand, I think it should be a no-win, no-fee. Like, if you don't get nominated...
No, money down.
You could be a complete wrong'un and this could get you nominated.
Well, okay, so this is the thing. The site has said that 97% of their customers have said they're value for money. Now, bearing in mind, if this is a similar ratio for people who paid for the most popular tier for honours, which is Sandringham, 15,900 plus VAT, value for money. These guys must be really good. And Slade have said that they have helped numerous household names get on the list. I think they said they had about a 2/3 success rate, which is like far higher than a sort of 1 in 10 of the general sort of application process.
Which like dodgy celebs do you reckon that they could get on the list? Do you reckon they could get Tyson Fury a knighthood?
I mean, look, I think the thing is, it's not even about dodgy celebs. It's just about, I think it's an issue of trying to get somebody into a tier of society that is otherwise closed off to them because they don't have, like, I don't know, it's almost a bit like a Pygmalion situation.
Yeah.
And Tyson Fury could certainly do with one of those. He is the Eliza Doolittle of the... of the honours list. The application writers at Wars Intelligence say that each takes them between 100 and 150 hours. Would it be more for Big Tice? Who knows? So they don't like to waste their time. Slade has said that there are as many people that they say yes to as they say no to. With the higher quality of the people they take on, that's going to result in a higher success rate. So they specifically try and find those. And the more that success rate goes up, the more they can put their prices up. Sorry, what?
Why have they said that?
He said that to the Telegraph last year, and it's like, but you're charging £50,000 for the ultimate tier.
Yeah.
But this is the thing: if they can get their sex rate,
if they can get their sex right,
if they can get their sex rate above 2/3, which I mean, seriously, tell me your secrets. If they can get their success rate above 2/3, which is where it's really at, they can get it closer towards like 75%, 80%. You're dealing with like a guaranteed honours, which, like you said, could be massive for individuals in terms of...
It could really break the meta.
It really could.
Like, I mean, I already think some undeserving people have got honours, so...
But look, the issue is that ultimately this is going to be an expensive game. We know this. It's kind of the way it goes. So... what you need to understand is if we're going to be involved in the honours list, if you want to be alongside Qatar's golden boy, that's right, Sir Golden Balls himself, David Beckham, or you want to be with British American Tobacco's new team member, Dame Penny Mordaunt, we said that Dame Elaine Page sounds right. Nothing's ever sound more wrong than Dame Penny Mordaunt. And you know, well, I couldn't say who did and didn't use the premium services of Awards Intelligence, paying their equally premium prices. If you're looking for a lobby, they're clearly signposted. That's right. I'm looking at you, Claudia Winkleman. Big head and shoulders. Interfering in the game. But no, ultimately, this is what it comes down to. At the end of the day, it's all about the gold.
Well, I can think of 2 Oxford men who I think would probably need the ultimate tier. And they are 2 men who've been jailed this week for stealing a £4.8 million gold toilet from an art exhibition at Blenheim Palace.
So what a way to do it.
So this gold toilet, right? You might be thinking, what? Gold toilet? Those are just 2 of the questions that I'm going to answer right now. So... It's fully functional, okay? So it's connected to the plumbing.
Beautiful.
You can shit in the gold toilet.
Does the Pope? No. That's the wrong expression, isn't it?
The Pope, no. The Pope's not come to Britain yet, has he?
Has he not?
Come to Britain.
Hey, Pope Leo XIV, we can talk baseball.
Yeah.
We have a great
Jesus
time.
came to Britain.
What?
He went to Glastonbury. Jesus.
What?
When he was alive.
Are we sure about this, Chris?
I'll have to look it up. It'll be in the... That is really...
It's a sign!
It's
a sign!
That is really good timing.
Are you there? Did you come to Glastonbury? Who was the legend set? Was it Dolly?
That is such good timing because the gold toilet is a sculpture, well, it's an actual toilet, created by Maurizio Catalan, the Italian performance artist, who's also responsible for such works as Comedian, which is a banana duct taped to a wall. So...
Which
that
is
perfect.
It's people's go-to thing of sort of like when they're talking about the death of art. They kind of go, oh, this is art in the modern day. Art used to be this. I'm like, your understanding of art history is bafflingly stupid.
Yeah, I also don't think that these 2 are the most outrageous things that he's created. So Catalan is known for such masterpieces as a squirrel committing suicide,
right,
and Pope John Paul being crushed by a comet.
Now, the real issue... What? Sorry, I was still on the squirrel thing.
Stopped in his tracks.
Because I was about to say, well, is it a grey squirrel or a red squirrel? Because, I mean...
it's a grey one.
Well, then your sympathies are a little bit like...
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
Who's crying about it? Yeah. Rats with PR. The RSPCA is belling me up. We've got to have the reform in the comments with the RSPCA in the comments. Hit by What?
People were really excited to see this gold toilet at the
Yes.
exhibition back in 2019. So Edward Spencer Churchill, who's the current Duke of Marlborough's half-brother and the founder of the Blenheim Art Foundation, said, despite being born with a
That's
silver...
not a real sentence. It's not a real
He's a
sentence.
mythical creature. Despite being born with a silver spoon in my mouth, I have never shit in a golden toilet, so I look forward to it. The toilet used to be housed at the Guggenheim Museum in New York. And in 2018, when Trump asked the Guggenheim Museum if he could borrow a Van Gogh for the White House, they said, no, but we can give you the gold toilet. He politely declined.
I feel like he'd want that more from Mar-a-Lago. I'm sure he's got a gold toilet at Mar-a-Lago.
I
That
don't-
feels like a him
Have you
thing
been?
to have. Well, I don't have to comment on that. Obviously, of course, we all have to do what we have to do in the name of diplomacy.
When I complete my right-wing swing, I'm going to visit Mar-a-Lago. We're going to be the rest is politics, except they agree on absolutely everything, and we're going to disagree on absolutely everything.
Yeah. We're gonna actually disagree agreeably.
And it's going to be disagreeable.
Oh. Anyway, so this golden toilet that was offered to Donald Trump.
This golden toilet, it was at this exhibition, and there was other art at the exhibition, which included a taxidermy horse called Tiramisu hung from the ceiling.
Brilliant.
Amazing. I made a tiramisu this weekend.
Oh, did you, darling?
For Father's Day, because my my father is quite partial to a tiramisu.
Oh, I love a tiramisu.
Yes.
I'm partial to a tiramisu and your dad.
It went in what order?
That order.
And also, there's a model of Hitler kneeling in prayer, which is fitting because Hitler wanted to make Blenheim Palace in Oxford his home if he conquered the UK.
Right. Are we sure about that?
Yeah,
Are we sure? Because he said that.
he wrote it in the footnotes.
Okay. Because we all know the thing about Paris, that Paris wasn't heavily bombed because he wanted it to be the centre of his empire.
Yeah.
But bearing in mind, like, that might just be an Oxford thing, because we had managed to make the joke that the Midland Hotel is only standing because Hitler wanted to make it his home in the UK.
Hitler was really a man of culture.
I don't think that's true.
I wonder what his opinions were on the Angel of the North. If it's anything like my dad, he'd bomb it.
Well, the sculptor of the Angel of the North just got on the honours list. So
That utter woke nonsense.
not even joking.
Why are we giving, what is it, Sir Angel of the North or Dame Angel of the
I
North?
think it's Sir. You can check that.
That's
What's your beef with the Angel of the North?
It's really embarrassing for this country that we're giving Sir to a statue.
No.
It looks like something I make out of matchsticks.
No, the sculptor of the
Oh,
statue.
the sculptor. Is it Anthony Gormley?
I don't know.
I thought the sculpture had been named Sir
No,
Angel of the North.
that's not how it works.
I know that's not how it works.
Who wrote the nomination for the sculpture? All right?
Mark Llewellyn Slade.
Mark Llewellyn Slade.
And he's got a 50%.
Done it again. 50%. Don't insult him. 2/3.
So,
Continue.
I promised to tell you about this gold toilet being stolen. So, it was stolen just hours after a glamorous launch party for the exhibition. So, in the week leading up to the heist, 39-year-old Michael Jones from Oxford paid 2 visits to Blenheim. One of them, he booked a time slot on Blenheim's website to use the gold toilet. Yeah, this is something you can do.
Brilliant.
And he later said in court that using the toilet was splendid.
I weep whoever have to come after me in that list.
What if it's a double flusher? Can the system take it?
I'd call in and say, look, I've booked a place for 12. Clear it till 1. Clear it till 1.
You'd be great in this like gang of thieves, because the point of him doing that was to kind of take a recce of the environment. So if you were in the gold toilet, you probably evacuate the whole building. You could have enough time to maybe even tunnel through the walls with a spoon.
How long do you think that takes? You got like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you got 20 minutes. The man who told Jones to do this was Jimmy Sheen, for whom Jones worked as a roofer. So he's an absolute wrong'un, is Jimmy Sheen. He's got a long...
Allegedly.
Confirmed wrong'un. He's been involved in gun crime. He's blown up ATMs. He's scammed and threatened elderly homeowners. This sounds like a list that we'll all have to edit out of the podcast later. But yeah, he's the gold toilet is the tamest thing that he's ever done, basically. This Jimmy Sheen. So 5 thieves smashed their way in to Blenheim Palace with sledgehammers and ripped out the 18-carat solid gold toilet. And it took no more than 5.5 minutes to complete, apparently.
Wow.
Which is pretty good. They
really
needn't
quick.
send you in.
No. I would have
The bombardier.
I would have slowed them down. It takes longer than that for me to be done.
For them to put on their gas masks. Within 2 weeks of the heist, he made quick work of this. Sheen had sold 20 kilograms of gold, about 1/5 of the toilet's weight, also Matty's bench press PR, and he's sold it to an unknown buyer in Birmingham for 520 grand.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll take a fifth of a gold toilet, please.
Yeah, I mean, this is brilliant. This is like the Brinksmat case, but with a giant golden toilet.
So Sheen pleaded guilty to burglary, transferring criminal property, and conspiracy to transfer criminal property. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison. And they found his DNA at the crime scene and gold fragments in his clothing. So, bang to rights.
Bang to rights.
They also found messages on his phone in which he was using kind of a weird combination of slang to talk about the stolen toilet. He was using the word car as code for gold. Yes, today I will steal some car. They'll never take me alive. And Jones, who was the roofer, was found guilty of burglary. He was sentenced to 2 years and 3 months in prison. And he also, according to the judge, had a long and unenviable list of previous convictions. 5 men were seen on CCTV, but it remains unclear whether Jones was actually at the raid, meaning either 3 or 4 burglars remain at large.
I can't wait for the Hugh Bonneville BBC drama about this.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
going to be so good.
It's honestly, it may be too late. They're already well, that was going to be a good segue into our final story, but we've got plenty more to come. But yeah, normally they're right on top of it, like the post office scandal.
Yeah,
that was almost instant.
That's true. But actually, it took them a lot. No,
it took them a long time to get justice, but it was almost as soon as it blew up in the news that they made.
Sure.
In fact, you could argue it caused it.
Yeah. So you're suggesting it's actually going to be a Toby Jones drama for ITV instead? Toby
Jones can play anyone. Has he got an honour yet? He definitely deserves one.
I'm going to have to look that up because I love Toby Jones.
Oh, yeah.
He's managed to transcend character actorhood into just being like a household name. His name's catchy.
He's kind of a shapeshifter.
He really is. He's remarkable.
He has the name of one of like GQ's sexiest men alive. And then you see him and he's even sexier.
It's so true. Get on to your next story. Speaking of sexy bombshells.
Yes, a star from the Polish version of Love Island has been jailed for 14 years for being the business brain of a £53 million drugs cartel. Yeah, this is the organised crime episode, baby. So Magdalena Sadlo, who's 30 years old, also known as Barbie. That's a pretty good name for a criminal. Like,
yeah.
Killer, bombshell.
Barbie.
She
actually the nickname of the roofer from the last story.
Barbie, Barbie Jones.
You had car for gold. You had Barbie for the roofer.
Yeah, it was like a mix of apparently Romany traveller slang and like Cockney rhyming slang.
Do you think they were debating who's going to be played by Toby Jones?
Yeah, they're clearly men of culture.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah.
In fact they didn't go to steal the gold. They just went to admire, the taxidermied horse that was hung from the ceiling.
God, I love tiramisu.
So Magdalena Sadlo was involved in a drugs operation, a cocaine operation specifically, that spanned from Greater Manchester to Cumbria. And Barbie herself, I couldn't find that much about her that wasn't in Polish, because she was on the Polish version of Love Island, which makes for interesting translations. So on the Polish Love Island website, it says, if I can get this pronunciation right, Zdarzało jej się odbić faceta, which my friend Jakob, who's Polish, managed to translate as she's able to seduce a taken man. But Google translated it to she once stole a guy. So add that to her list of heinous crimes.
Just remove the poetry of the statement there. That's the crime from Google Translate.
Wait till you hear this next one. So on the 2021 series of Love Island, she was eliminated. She came she was one of the minnows. She didn't do very well. But her reason for elimination is listed on the Wikipedia as przeparowanie, which means, according to Jakob, our Polish friend, that she got dumped in the point in the show where they're choosing new partners. But Google translates it to evaporation. I don't know what they're doing in the Polish Love Island. They've got ray guns. If you're not sexy enough, you haven't won the public's hearts, you get eviscerated with a portal gun. So Carlisle Crown Court heard that this whole drug smuggling thing was a Amazon-style drugs operation. Yes.
Amazon-style
drugs. Well, I don't think they're meaning that Bezos is smuggling that white.
I don't think so.
Amazon is it's a big network of couriers, so it involved many other men from Greater Manchester. Big up. And
wait, hang on.
Free them, no.
The hard-working worker bees of Manchester. You can't beat that graft, son. Continue.
Yeah, you can't keep a good man down. It also involved cartel members based in Dubai. So they masterminded a conspiracy to ship enormous sums of cocaine into the UK.
Yeah.
And police busted this through Operation Matrix. And within Operation Matrix, 12 men have already been handed sentences, totaling more than 100 years for their role in the larger plot. So she's, even though she had a significant role, which I'll tell you about now, it is a much bigger plot. So Sadlo, that's Barbie to you, used her management skills to prepare criminal accounts for crime bosses who were based in the Middle East. So one message recovered by police quipped, "The devil works hard, but Barbie works harder." She's clearly Mancunian at heart.
Yeah.
Gotta love her.
It's just it's that working class spirit, you know.
Yeah.
This is the place.
Another message said, "Having a good month, done 95,895 in profit so far from orders of car." Wink. The prosecutor, Tim Evans, said she not only manages the profits, costs and expenses, but also the stock levels, the profit margins involved. No organised crime group at this level could operate or function without Magdalena Sadlo or an equivalent performing this role. Girl boss.
Girl boss. This is accountants. Get her in the Big Four. We talked about them earlier. Get her in the Big Four.
Exactly.
She's got Deloitte knocking down her door, basically saying, like, look, I know it's a bit like, you know, when the FBI or like the CIA hire someone who's hacked into them. This is like an accountant kind of going, like, we see your skills. We want you to use them for good.
I think they could reform her. They could get her back on side.
Yeah. It almost feels like, because I'm talking about the accountant there, I'm sort of like, you know how there's a Ben Affleck film about this where it's like the accountant who's also the assassin?
Yeah.
I can't wait for like the really confusingly titled Barbie accountant where everyone's like, is this Margot Robbie, Ben Affleck, whatever? It's
Evaporation?
Like, no. Evaporation?
What's going on here?
Yeah, the visual effects are quite astonishing on the Polish Love Island.
It's like Nollywood effect where she just star wipes out of existence.
They use the PowerPoint.
Oh, gosh. Our banana's completely fallen down.
I know the feeling.
As a courier for the gang, so she repeatedly collected vast quantities of cocaine as it was imported into the port of Harwich. Never been. Classic Silk Road spot.
Time of year.
A police drug expert concluded she could have trafficked almost 300 kilograms of cocaine in 7 trips. You've got to package that well, because if that gets into the ginnel in the car...
Yeah, that's where you use those little, like, bags that you put in the... you know, there's, like, Ziploc bags you put in your luggage to compartmentalize things, and it gives you a little bit more space.
I think you need to get, like, a Henry Hoover.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be
vacuum-sealed cocaine.
There's going to be lots of kind of miscellaneous straw when it comes to snorting the cocaine. But, you know, you gotta save that money.
Hey, you gotta save that money. You know, because you don't want to pay extra for, like, another cabin bag. That's just unbelievable.
So, it turns out Barbie's dreams had to come to an end at some point. So, when she flew into the UK on February the 13th last year,
right,
she was traveling first class with Emirates. She was carrying a 130 grand rose gold Patek Philippe watch, a 30 grand Rolex as well, with Cartier bracelets and rings that she bought with the proceeds from this crime, and a CV that was listing her qualifications. She's clearly been to Mark Llewellyn Slade.
Now, no, hang on. Mark takes high-quality people only, because basically one of the things is that they don't want people who definitely aren't going to get an honours, so there's no point.
Right.
I struggle to think.
When they get up to 80%, though,
yeah.
If she hadn't been evaporated, I think she'd be up for an MBE.
She's certainly got the cash for it.
Yeah, well, she's also got some recognition. So Judge Barker said to Barbie, "You're an intelligent woman and well understand risk and reward. I find you acted with real enthusiasm and sought to impress those at the top." I don't think it's a compliment, actually,
no.
reading back. But can't a girl do anything these days?
Come on, guys, let's face it. All she was doing was just doing her work properly, getting in day after day. She was going to the office as well. She's out in Dubai, you know. She's not one of these work from home. I work from home. One of these work from
Hey, if you finish nowhere in Love Island, like, we've not heard from Sharif, have we? Sharif, who was...
Someone check Sharif's account.
Sharif was famously removed from the show for kicking someone in the groin and saying, "Cunt punt."
Was he evaporated for it?
He really should have been.
He should have been evaporated for that. That's unbelievable. That's absolutely unbelievable. I think it's out of order. It's completely out of order.
It's rash.
It's rash. It's rash. I think what's really lovely about these stories is it always ends the exact same way, where it's like they got caught driving around the country in a flash BMW with a Tech Philippe watch, and everyone went, "Oh, what have you been doing for work?" And they went, "Oh."
Oh, and the CV just like falls out their pocket. It's like a meet cute with the CIA.
You know the bit in Goodfellas where they do like the Lufthansa heist and they're just sort of like, now don't get anything flashy, and a guy turns up in a fur coat and a pink car.
It's like Stephen Bear.
Oh, Stephen Bear. Shout out, actually.
Could he get an OBE?
No, he definitely can't, because you know who just got, I think, an MBE or an OBE? Georgia Harrison.
Right.
Who took him down.
Well,
shout out Georgia Harrison.
After all that, you bloody deserve it, don't you?
Yeah. That's one of those ones, again, there's up here on the honours list where you kind of go, you know what? When you see Love Island star on honours list, you're thinking, where's this going? Georgia Harrison, national treasure. Shout out to you, love. That's what you should be doing. If you don't win Love Island, you should be changing the laws and helping prosecute people for revenge porn. You shouldn't be smuggling cocaine across Cumbria. And that's my advice to you. But speaking of organised crime, the Club World Cup, no.
It can't go on like this.
Today I feel... Look, the Club World Cup started in the US last weekend.
Yes.
And it has been a mixed bag. The final will take place next month, 13th of July. So you're basically getting a full month of fixtures at the end of a very, very long season.
This also sounds like an advert, Matty.
This also sounds like an advert. And this will kind of go in ebbs and flows of being an advert, and really not. So this is the first of the Club World Cups by FIFA to utilise this 32-team format. So it's a bit more like the World Cup as we know it with the international side.
The real World Cup.
The real World Cup. You might never have heard of the Club World Cup. Most people don't care, usually. It used to be an annual 7-team tournament in the winter break to now being this big summer tournament. So... It used to be that it was the 6 continental champions, because believe it or not, Antarctica does not have a continental club competition, and then the host nations champions. So
I feel like they should have Antarctica in there. They should have just the scientists and the penguins.
That would be so wonderful.
Polar bear at the back?
And
no, they're
argue
Arctic.
it makes far more sense to put them there than the 7th competitor at the old style, which was just the host nations champions. And with bearing in mind this was in the UAE and like Saudi Arabia.
So who are they then?
You know exactly who the first ones were back in 2009.
Shabab Al Ali Dubai.
Shabab Al Ali Dubai, friends of the show.
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. Now the thing is that tournament now exists in a new format, and by new format I mean pretty much the same. Still in winter. The UEFA team from Europe only plays one game. They can still get player of the tournament, as Vinicius Jr. did last year. And that's now called the Intercontinental Cup, which is named after the trophy that used to be held between the winner of a game between the South American champions and the European champions, which, as we will find out, makes far more sense than doing any of this. So, who's playing? It's an expanded format, like I said, and it's part of a new 4-year cycle. Again, like the World Cup, rather than being an annual tournament, it's going to be every 4 years.
So they're planning to make this here to stay then?
Here to stay. So going forward, the 4 years between now and the next one will determine who qualifies. And even though this is the first one, the last 4 years had determined qualification. And I don't think that necessarily includes this season because it's, bonkers and it's only just finished. So Europe's representatives are based on UEFA's ranking of Champions League performances, but it's limited to 2 teams per country. The only way around the limit is for a country to have more than 2 Champions League winners in that period. So if Liverpool had won a couple of years ago and City, Chelsea and Liverpool all had Champions League medals, all the teams would go, even though that's more than 2 English sides. But they didn't. So they are not at the Club World Cup because there's already 2 English sides. Instead, you get to watch Red Bull Salzburg, known for the next month as just FC Salzburg, because advertising is a pain in international competitions. And they are now the only team, Salzburg I mean, from either Europe or South America that the bookies rank below someone from the other federations. So all the other federations, no one's giving the time of day, with the exception of Inter Miami, who are seen as just about viable contenders because they have Lionel Messi. And Luis Suarez and Sergio Busquets.
Apparently they're flagging, though.
They really are. They drew 0-0 in their home open against Al Ahly. Not Shabab Al Ahly Dubai. It should be noted.
No, they'd have smashed Shabab Al Ahly Dubai.
No. How dare you?
The UAE's champions.
Friends of the show, Shabab Al Ahly Dubai, champions of the UAE. And like I said, I swear.
You've sold out quickly.
I sold out quickly.
Where's this reform TikTok energy?
Oh, sorry. Where do I go from here? Oh, yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that unless you're a team from South America or Europe, don't even bother turning up. Because Europe's teams are stacked with world-class players coming off long seasons, and again would probably smash Shabab Al Ahly Dubai.
We've seen Bayern Munich beat Auckland City 10-0 already, haven't we?
The semi-pro Auckland City, who aren't even the best team in Auckland because the other team play in the Australian League. Yes. While the South American sides are literally in the middle of their season, they're in like peak mid-season form. They're ready to go.
If I was an Auckland City fan, I'd be straight home, hop on FIFA, play as the other Auckland team, and just beat Bayern Munich 11-0. I'd have to get it out.
You'd have to get it out of your system. It has to be done. Now, South America have brought 6 sides to this tournament.
Whoa. How can they bring 6 if... Oh, no.
We've brought 12.
Oh.
Europe sent 12. South America have sent 6. The 4 continental champions and then the best of the rest. 2 from the field. So it all sounds like fun and games. You know, everyone wants to see the champions of Saudi Arabia take on Seattle Sounders.
I know I do.
Apparently Seattle fans didn't. But anyway, as mentioned, the tournament is coming at the end of a long European season where the array of competitions, including the already expanded Champions League format, is leading people to say, look, there's too many games. You've got to think about the players because fixture congestion is getting out of control. It's led to an attitude that this competition is just glorified friendlies. It's been the case for a long time now that Europe's big sides will go abroad, especially to America where this tournament is taking place, and, you know, sell out stadiums just having a kickabout. I remember like United and Real Madrid sold out the Rose Bowl, 100,000 just to watch them play a friendly. And so people are looking at that saying, is this really in line with FIFA's branding of the best versus the best? Well, let's delve into that marketing, shall we? Because just as you can have a consultant get you onto the honours list, you can also have a podcaster teach you about marketing. FIFA has spent $50 million on marketing for the tournament. The trophy, which was emblazoned, it's not this one, it's much bigger. It's the shape of my head, so you know it's massive. The trophy emblazoned with FIFA president Gianni Infantino's name twice.
He already looks like a World Cup. They should have used the Jules Rimet.
He is a shiny man. They should have used the Jules Rimet. That'd be glorious. This trophy's followed that man on his press tour, which has taken him from streams with iShow speed.
God. Friend of the show.
To the Oval Office with Donald Trump. Not a friend of the show. Let it be known. So they've also taken a few notes from the Donald. Despite using the competition to sell the world's game, and Gianni Infantino's prior statements about feeling a real swell of empathy for everyone in the world, FIFA will not be showing any videos, signage, or marketing that explicitly tackles racism and discrimination.
So he no longer feels gay?
He no longer feels...
like a migrant worker?
Today I feel like a migrant worker. This is a DEI rollback akin to major corporations and government departments across the states, as we have discussed in our previous episodes on Target. It also echoes FIFA's, and particularly Mr. Infantino, today I feel Saudi, their comical attempts to keep the Qatar World Cup inclusive. Hello again, golden balls. So surely this streamlined approach is a success, though. Because as we all know, you go woke, you go broke. I mean, just look at us.
Exactly, we've got an inflatable crown. We'd have a real one.
We'd have a real one if we weren't such wokies. Well, FIFA is not really going all that great for them. Granted, financially speaking, there is one constant guarantee. DAZN are streaming the event for free, but they bid $1 billion for the rights. Interesting, especially considering that the other bids were nothing. No one wanted them. Now, just after they bid $1 billion, Saudi Arabia bought 10% of DAZN, a streaming service that's usually for things like NFL Game Pass and combat sports, for, you guessed it, $1 billion. And then, in the months that followed, FIFA announced the tournament pot at $1 billion.
We'll just let you get a piece of paper, draw a little diagram,
draw a little diagram,
and see what's going on.
If you end up with just a straight line, you're on the right track. Because also, within this about 3-month span where this all played out, Saudi Arabia were given the World Cup in 2034.
I think that says it all.
It says it all. I'm not going to say anything else. It's just more coincidences.
Yeah.
It's just more coincidences. But look, it's not a fully golden hour for FIFA. Not at all. When Inter Miami, the aforementioned Lionel Messi-headed side, had their first game of the tournament announced in December, the cheapest seat you could buy on Ticketmaster was $349.
Oof.
Steep. In the run-up to the game, however, FIFA were hawking out $20 packages at Miami-Dade College, which is home to 100,000 students, which included 5 seats. Basically,
wow.
$4 a pop. Now, this is a real decline.
Yeah.
What's happened there?
To watch the Barcelona's pensioners.
To watch Barcelona's pensioners play Al Ahly, not the champions of UAE, Shabab Al Dubai,
Nope.
should be noted. With the rest of the tickets falling to a $55 mark for the average plebeians like you and I.
Yes.
They were able to end up drawing 60,000 to the stadium, but I don't know how many of them coughed up $350+ for it. So this has all stemmed from fears of poor attendance, and those fears are, I think, fairly. It makes sense. It makes sense. I would be afraid too. So while PSG versus Atletico Madrid brought in 80,000 to the 100,000 seater Rose Bowl that I mentioned earlier, Chelsea's brand value still wasn't enough to draw many more than 22,000 bums to the 71,000 seats of Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium for their game versus LAFC.
That's rough. Haven't they just sold their women's team?
To themselves. Yes, they sold their women's teams to themselves.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this proves that even with a $2 billion squad and a really prestigious Conference League trophy, you still can't get people to be bothered.
More people have seen our Reform TikTok than went to that game.
Yes. That's really strange.
25k across all platforms, baby.
We're big. We're bigger than Chelsea.
I'll never stop talking about it.
We'll never stop talking about it. We're just rage baiting all the more now, I think. So right, let's look at the verdict of it. Right, a few days into the tournament, it's still ongoing. We're still in the group stage. Most teams have only played once, and whether that's been in front of 80,000 or 20,000, the games and the quality of the games has been mixed. Usually quite closely fought contests. I mean, Suarez was talking before the tournament that the American teams could really defend the home turf and have a strong showing against the tired European legs, only to lose to Brazilian Botafogo in their first game at home, where they couldn't draw much more than 30,000 to their 60,000 seat home stadium Lumen Field. But what are we dealing with here? Well, between the sort of 10-0 thrashings and everything else, there is a sign of life. Infantino was very pleased recently because he saw what he called football fever taking over Miami Beach. That was the arrival of Boca Juniors. Now, the Argentine Giants, who are coming off some pretty unsuccessful seasons, but had enough success to reach this tournament, they always bring the energy. Famously, they took over Copacabana Beach a few years ago, and there's a viral video of a kid who sold his PlayStation, his dad sold his motorbike just so they could be at the beach without even having tickets to the game, just to be part of the atmosphere. And that kid was recently featured in the marketing for their new shirt. That's what Boca Juniors is all about. So they have been the Club World Cup's defibrillator, because in their first game, they were able to go up against Benfica and spark a bloody 2-2 draw, which doesn't sound as interesting as it actually was, because there were 3 red cards in this game, including for United cult hero Ander Herrera, who was on the bench when he got sent off.
Whenever there's a red card in one of these games, the commentators are always like, well, this is the thing we really hate to see out of the game. And it's like, I want to see it.
The game is so back. The game is so back. Argentine legend and Benfica's prodigal son, Angel Di Maria, who was playing in the match, was clattered within about 2 minutes.
Oof.
Fellow Argentine on the Benfica side, Nicolas Otamendi, played a blinder, winning the penalty that managed to get them back into the game that Di Maria scored, and scoring a late header to equalise after being 2-0 down. The game was full of passion and fury and excitement, and it made people realise maybe, just maybe, this tournament has something about it.
This is part of the reason why I'm against anything that Saudi are doing in sports. Mm-hmm. I'm against the sports washing stuff. But this is why I hold out a seed of hope for this tournament, because it's the people that we grew up watching, and it's kind of like I don't know. Have you ever seen Stan and Ollie, the film?
Yes.
It's like when they wheel them out for their like final sort of farewell tour around Europe. They've still got it. They're a bit decrepit, but they can still do the old way out west dance routine.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just here to watch El Matador Edinson Cavani, really.
Luis Suarez is still biting shoulders, but this time it's dentures.
So look, this game, this absolute battle that they managed to goad Benfica into, it's followed on from Michael Elise's comments at the weekend. So we talked about the 10-0 thrashing. Michael Elise, the talented French winger for Bayern Munich, after just pummeling a semi-pro side with players who had to take unpaid leave off work just to go there so that they could get the attendance money to pay for an all-surface pitch for schools in their local area. Heroes. When Michael Elise was asked if they felt sorry for their opponents after beating those guys 10-0, he said no. And the internet went, oh, maybe there's something here. Because between that and the Battle of Hard Rock Stadium, there's been an air of ruthlessness that's started to seep into this tournament. And if this tournament wants to be more than friendlies, then the games can't be played on friendly terms. But it must be noted, and let me throw this out there, that I think we can have this hostile environment alongside FIFA's prior messaging about what the world's game is meant to be. So while we're going in hard on club icons and national heroes, let's two-foot some racists while we're at it as well. Because I think what football needs is a few stiff challenges and an air of respect, where everyone can come and everyone can get it.
I beg your pardon?
Club World Cup, baby.
One of those you really got to say out loud. Well, it provides me with no segue onto our final story.
Figure it out.
So,
speaking of vigilante heroes,
yeah, it kind of works. We'll work on it. We'll do a segue workshop.
We'll do a segue workshop.
Really, the headline for this story speaks for itself. Luigi the musical premiered this week. And no, it's not Mario's mushroom munching brother. This is Luigi Mangione. So in case you've been living under a rock, he's the suspect who's been charged with the killing of Brian Thompson, the CEO of health insurance company United Healthcare, last December. So we're probably not going to see the trial to 2026, but by golly, are we going to see a musical version of it? So the official synopsis from the website: a wildly irreverent, razor-sharp comedy that imagines the true story, allegedly, of Luigi Mangione, the alleged corporate assassin turned accidental folk hero, with real-life cellmates Sam Bankman-Fried and Diddy by his side. Luigi navigates friendship, justice, and the absurdity of viral fame. So they've lumped them all in together because they were detained in the same detention centre, and they're supposed to represent the three pillars of society the public have lost trust in. So big tech, healthcare, and
Hollywood?
Diddy?
Yeah, like celebrities and
I think Diddy is in and of himself a pillar.
Diddy...
More about Diddy's pillar as the trial develops.
No, unbelievable.
Sam Bankman-Fried, if you don't know, is a convicted crypto fraudster. Meanwhile, Diddy is being played by a woman. Implications of that
astonishing,
far beyond the scope of
poetic license.
As two literature students, we're scratching our heads. We've got a massive whiteboard with Pepe Sylvia style, trying to connect all the dots of what that could mean. But yes, Janae Lucas plays Diddy, and she has Diddy spelled out in sequins across the back of her orange jumpsuit.
That's glorious.
They're glorious and so heinous.
So heinous.
The Playbill website says, though the musical is currently billed as a comedy, real life is less funny. The Justice Department is currently seeking the death penalty against Mangione. So
now we know all about the absurdity of viral fame and people seeking the death penalty.
Friendship, justice.
Friendship, justice.
Maybe we could be in this. Me, you, and
Sam Bankman-Fried and Diddy.
The awesome foursome. The Fab Four. The Beatles.
Honestly, better casting than what they've done for the Beatles biopics.
Yeah. Barry Keoghan, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah. Well, hang on. Have we seen him try and do a Scouse accent before and fail miserably? Oh, yeah, we absolutely have.
So the opening night, which opened in San Francisco, had kind of polarized reviews. So The Independent said the final number sees a shirtless Mangione carried, figure skater style, into a cloud of smoke as he sings, gleefully oblivious to the irony of his dream of escaping prison and making sure every single human being's life has worth, so I'll shoot everybody until there's peace on earth. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
It received a standing ovation, but the San Francisco Chronicle was not pleased. It said the production was amateurish.
Yeah.
People were swallowing their lines. At one point, they had to tell someone to take their hands out of their pockets. We've been there as well. Back to the 80s.
If anyone knows what amateurish productions,
yeah,
people swallowing their lines.
Our Year 12 school play, which was an 80s jukebox musical, opened just before COVID hit the UK and possibly brought COVID to the UK. Matty was the main character.
People were blaming the Atletico Madrid fans coming over for the Liverpool match. I think they are national heroes. Instead, it was me and you.
Yeah, Matty was the main character, a geek who just couldn't catch a break with the ladies, and his character was interesting as well. and I played his bully, which Matty,
again,
I
you
don't,
have to really step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, I don't bully you, do I?
No.
Good.
It's all good.
But Luigi the musical and Back to the 80s are not the most unhinged musicals that have come up this week. So this week we've also seen off-Broadway readings, Matty staring blankly into space because he knows what's about to happen, of Slam Frank. Yes, you heard that right. A Anne Frank Latin-inspired hip-hop musical. Well, that's a sentence that's never been said.
That's a sentence that never should have been said.
Never should have been said, but it's been
said.
said many times in the promotional campaign for this, this shit show. So the rationale: our world has been getting more and more diverse, says the director, but our Holocaust narratives haven't been able to keep up. So Anne Frank is Latina or Latinx as they specify, and played by Mexican actor Olivia Bernabe. I don't know if I could even read this out. Recently, for Pride Month, they put up a promotional post which said, "Just because Anne Frank couldn't leave the attic doesn't mean we have to stay in the closet." Really trying to toe the line of, is this funny? Is this horrendous?
Is this funny? Is this horrendous? Yes.
Yes. Sondheim, a picture of Stephen Sondheim on the Instagram with a big cross through him, and they've just written privilege across it, like he's some kind of enemy of the proletariat.
We thought we were rage baiting last week when we had an extended story going across the entire country slagging off Reform MPs that has led to us achieving, like I said, an absurd level of viral fame with calls for the death penalty against us.
The rage bait reaches new levels with this.
These guys are on a rage bait level that can't be controlled.
They are. They've got a Kanye West's Champion parody, which goes, "She gon' write it all out in a diary." And honestly, the resonances of using Kanye West should not be lost on the audience.
Absolutely should not be lost on the audience. I think that's an act of genius.
Nice. They've got Alex, the guy with the afro who used to be in BuzzFeed.
Yes.
The guy who's in the band Lou Burger with Keith Habersberger, who also used to be big in BuzzFeed.
Sure.
He's got Latin actors playing Anne Frank. It really, what do you make of this? Do you think, is this a step too far? And what's this even trying to say?
What it's trying to say is that I think sometimes our approach to media is outrageous. First of all, this in itself, as like an aesthetic thing, is just by itself a comedy, a spoof. It's having a laugh, it's having a joke.
Yeah.
But I think they're mocking the fact that sometimes people would do a project like this seriously. And I think it's mocking the self-serious approach that a lot of people take to what is meant to be culturally sensitive or challenging works that ultimately just result in being either pandering or in themselves ridiculous and offensive.
Do you think it's a crazy attempt at relevance, or do you think there's really something in it? Leave it in the comments.
Leave it in the comments.
That goes from Luigi the musical and Slam Frank.
And actually everything we discussed today. If you have any thoughts, takes, whatever it might be, or you have a story that you want to share with us, you can email us at
newsensation@gmail.com.
That's newsensationpod@gmail.com.
That's newsensationpod@gmail.com.
Or you can follow us at New Sensation on Instagram and at New Sensation Pod on TikTok. We alternate between the two. You'll find us.
You certainly will find us. Now I've got to love TikTok because we're doing far better on there than we are on Instagram.
Yeah. It's going to consume Chris's every waking moments. But
it absolutely is, because I just love you so much.
And I love you even more. Because I'm Matty Curry.
And I'm Chris Patel.
And this has been New Sensation. Thank you for watching. Or listening. Or anything in between, really. Just go.